Hello and welcome to this week's Capsule Cast for the 2022 season, Week 5. I am your host, Destiny, with my co-host here, Doorguard.
Oh,
And we have a very special guest, I believe one of our lead modders, if I'm correct, and also just one of the people who run the league, Malachi.
Hello.
you've never watched a single match. This is gonna go horrible. Don't blame us. He's the only person who was willing to talk to us this week.
But
Name one character on a team.
Goku.
Not on a team. Nope.
Oh, not on a team.
Nope.
Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta.
Told you, he has no idea. He's not even league allowed. Has no idea what he's talking about.
alright, guess with the introductions out of the way, shall we get started with this very eventful week?
Yeah.
Alright, well, first up we have match 1, which was a divisional with Budokai and Derp. This match, at least for me, seemed to go pretty evenly matched, and then Hercule just kind of showed why he's a very good spammer.
Yeah. Hercule erasing Vegito was definitely the highlight of the match. But 18 did try.
Mm-hmm.
She tried her damnedest to bring it back, and she did all right.
I mean, it's kind of what you'd expect. Budokai kind of has their highs and their lows. Derp a much more like everybody does the same thing kind of team, with a few standout characters, and obviously it helps when you got a guy like Hercule just absolutely going off.
Yep.
I think this is one of the first weeks where he did, because I know one week he just got destroyed by 17, and the other week he just didn't want to do B2s.
Yeah, and I know Budokai has certainly been in a little bit of a rough spot getting their characters to continuously do the same thing. When you look at guys like Intred 18, who just seems to be very kind of hit or miss, honestly, as of late.
Yeah.
And then Saburta's been pretty consistent. Vegito, even last year, you could say had a little bit of wild card status. Just kind of like is a very solid character, but doesn't necessarily get a lot of testing due to the circumstances, and it just makes it kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Then I was going to say we also had a FA swap for Kid Goku and Yamcha this week.
Yeah, can't blame him. I mean, Kid Goku, Yamcha's really been struggling. And Kid Goku seems to fit into a particular niche that Yamcha couldn't fill. And I mean, he had a good showing. All things being considered, like I would have considered that a successful, a well-used bench swap, even if Budokai still kind of got destroyed, because Supreme Kai is not to be underestimated, especially when he got boosted.
I mean, I think the thing to note is this is not the free swap week, so this was literally just like them doing it to try to like get out there and try to get like some crazy advantage kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting play. It was certainly, I think, one of the last things a lot of us would expect with how much they up talk their guy, Yamcha. Yamcha.
Mhm. Yep.
So it was a bit of a surprise to say the least.
You know, I'm happy for Derp. They started off, I believe, 0-3, being the other no-win team at the time other than GT, and now they got 2 wins under their belt, and
Yeah.
2 pretty good wins too.
Oh yeah. They're starting to look like they've got their feet back under them, figuring things out without a good FA to shore them up, and I think we'll continue to see good things from them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hope that they get a lot more going on. Obviously, first 5 weeks, a lot of teams are looking a little rough right now. That's not to say any team's necessarily out of it. It's just certainly a lot more teams struggling than there are doing necessarily like super well. So will be interesting to see how they turn around from here. I think this is their first divisional in terms of this this Kai, so not
Yeah.
the
Yes.
biggest deal. It's if you lose all three, that things start to get really bad. But we're not
Mm.
quite there yet.
Yeah, this past week was, I believe, West Kai. Week 5 was West Kai. Week 6 will be South Kai, and then it'll start over week 7 up from the top.
Yep.
Alright.
You know. Yeah.
One more funny thing.
Nope.
It's
Nothing
funny.
else is funny.
It's funny that Vegeto's in this match versus the team who had him last year.
Mm-hmm. It happens, and it's always funny to see, like, sometimes you'll have those characters rampage. I'm trying to think of a good example off the top of my head, and it's just not coming to me. But we have seen that before. We've also seen, like, where they just kind of like this match, they just struggle against their old team. They just can't bring themselves to fight them.
Mhm.
So.
I don't know if it's necessarily a struggling against old team as much as I just think Vegito is a lot like Gogeta in being a very finicky character. Just like all these stats, but like too many directions to go in, but also not really easy just put him in this build because like this is the second season in a row where a team's tried to put him on pure melee and it's not like it's doing bad per se, but it's certainly not as good as it could be. Like
Yeah.
lots of struggles going on there. So it's quite obvious that. But I know Budika's also been trying to give him some more stuff, like in Key Blast, or they've tried some spam. Derp tried spam. He's got such bad key, it's really hard for him to spam without like actually investing. You can't just, oh, he's just gonna like throw a bunch of B2s out because he's a 2-bar and a 3-bar. He's got really low, like, really bad charge rate, it seems like, so he really struggles with that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just sometimes you want to just go for quantity over quality, and if they decide they want to go key +2 spam on him, I could definitely see that working. But yeah, sometimes it's just hard to get those high stat characters working because their kit just doesn't want to work with it.
But
Yeah, in terms of, I will say, as a final mark, Budokai keeping with some similar build swaps that they did at the end of last season playoffs, and those seem to still be paying off quite well. So good on them for kind of pushing into the. They kind of tried some new stuff, and while it's not exactly the same, like it was key +1 Salsa, now it's attack +1, they have taken them out of some of their chains that we used to always see them in, like some of the builds they used to always do, and they've gotten a little more, out there. Like I think Supreme Kai is having a much more stable season than last year, and it's not to say it wasn't stable last year, but he definitely it felt a little more volatile. Like it was definitely a lot more weeks where you weren't fully sure how he would do. But he seems to be a lot more like, oh, it's quite obvious what he's going to do now. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how both teams go because they're both obviously near the bottom of their respective Kai.
yeah. Alright. With that, shall we get moving?
Predictions? I'm good for that.
That's later. Moving on, we have match 2 of Bujins versus Sentai Squad, and
Sorry, Door.
yeah.
It's all right. Malachi started messaging me really bad ideas, so it's not going to get any better.
Hey, you asked for him, quite literally.
Yeah, I thought I would get some advice. I got trolled.
Hey, some of them were good ideas.
He told me to just put everybody on Chaozu AI, an AI that nobody on my team works on. I was expecting builds, not AI. I know what to do with the AI.
Hey,
No.
your guys have good stats, and they just need a little help doing what they're supposed to do.
Oh, I know about the stats. The nerf's incoming. It always is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really do feel like y'all have just had a run of you're rolling the dice and they're just coming up short. Like Kid Buu just got really unlucky, not wanting to do what he's supposed to do against Birder. Because I don't think he hit a
He did 4K. He didn't do anything.
yeah, he
It
didn't
wasn't
really,
a not doing what he was supposed to. He just didn't do anything.
yeah. I mean, part of the problem is he kept trying to do melee against Birder, and Birder just outsped him and did it better.
Well, the sad part is he's not bad at melee. He's got very fast melee as well, but yeah, it kind of doesn't matter when you well, the problem that I would say that's been happening with my team is not that characters aren't doing what they're supposed to do. It's that they do that, then they just stop. It's just one of those like Majin Buu has been very consistent, but he's always been kind of my version of Ader, of that Mr. Consistent character. I can't even be mad at Evil Buu. Saiyaman's had a great season. You know, he's just doing what he does.
Yeah, and I mean,
Both looked
even
like he was doing good for a while.
Yeah, Spope's been having pretty good weeks so far, honestly. I can't really complain about Spope. He's in that spot he's supposed to be every year, in that 35 to 40k average. So Spopovich does what he's expected to do. Evil Boo's, this was a worse week, but he's in his 40k average. It's what you'd expect from him, right? Like Majin Buu staying around 40. It's my heavy hitters, and that's what every team needs. When you look at Sentai, all of their characters have been doing good, and then they always have their 1 to 2 guys that do double duty. Namely, Mercenary Tao. He's been obviously going off pretty hard in recent times, which is very good for them. And it's awesome for them that they're able to get someone who's doing that. But
yeah,
it's kind of that same issue.
yeah, and then you also just had Birder this week going near elite with those matchups. As you said, like just everybody, everybody being solid, and then 2 characters really just pulling double duty. It's good to see for them, but it's still rough to, for you guys having the win-loss record that you do when you guys are a strong team. But I have confidence in y'all. Y'all can pull it back.
I mean, you just gotta look at it as how it is, which is like every team has their characters popping off, and until I get my guys popping off, it's just going to be a little funky, which is not a big deal. It can be overcome. It's just, I mean, I'm not the only team in this spot, as we just saw Budokai 1-4. GT also doing struggling very hard. Derp's only 2-3. It's not like Bujin's the only team, but it's certainly been, when you look at how the matches have gone, Bujin's seem a lot worse due to the fact that they've been, I think this is like the 3rd or 4th week in a row where I lost by like a massive margin. Like basically they only needed 2 characters kind of margin. So it's a little unfortunate to say the least.
Yeah.
I believe he can bounce back.
But on Sentai's side, congrats to them, because Tao is doing well, but when you look at the other side of things going on, they're just having a great season. Jace and Birder finally transitioning from looking really scary in testing to actually doing it in the main season.
Saiyaman looking like 10 times better than people
looking competent. Yeah, I think a lot of people were worried about what they were going to do, because Saiyaman and Saywoman were both struggling a lot in testing, and they both come out shining quite well. And while we haven't seen really any of Saywoman because she was struggling worse, we have seen that Saiyaman has been able to hold up his end of the bargain. So overall, it is nice that their team is functioning. It is good, very good for them.
And then of course, Jiren, even though he wasn't actually in this week, has been looking good for Sentai Squad.
Yep.
Yeah, he's looked like he's had a pretty decent start, so we'll see where that goes. But overall, good job to Sentai, looking to try to get out of South Kai this season, and currently on track to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And, that shall get moving to match 3.
No, I'm done. We're good for the day. Thanks, you guys, for joining us this week. We'll catch you next week.
Alright. Oh. Moving to match 3, we have Androids and GT. You know, speaking of GT on the last one. But, this match seemed to be more even at the start, in my opinion, because of Sin and Baby. I'm actually pretty sure I mixed up those stats. I may be wrong.
No, I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar. So, in the end, what you could say from this match is that GT, for the longest time, looked like they were holding up the bargain. And stat-wise, it looked a lot closer. I think you might be right. I think Baby might have been the one at 60k, because he came in and he really turned the match.
Yeah.
But Super Saiyan 4, I think it came down to like a one-on-one with Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Super 17. And he just, like, it looked like he just straight up had, like, they had their roles mixed, which is really bad for, which is obviously extremely bad for GT, because the spammer was Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and the melee character was 17, and they were on opposite builds, but the defense -1 meant that Super 17 was just going to beat on Vegeta, and Super 17 has decent stats, so it was just like a rough match through and through for them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we saw some build changes. They tried some experimental stuff.
Baby.
Shin seemed to do a lot better with just having more active stats.
Baby
Vegeta just
as
needs to have a con.
Yeah, like I would definitely just encourage GT to keep up with the build changes they made, because as you're pointing out, like the changes for both Sen, Shenron, and Baby seem to really work out for them. And I mean, it's just a work in progress. It'll take some time, and I think they're on the right track.
Yeah, I think that Baby build is going to get some updates. It was attack +1, Dragon Spirit, Eternal Life, and I think they realized that with the Eternal Life, he maybe doesn't need Dragon Spirit because he can just have more stats and do more stuff. So we'll probably see some more alterations as it goes on. Was a little sad in the sense that this is like the first week in a minute that we've seen like Goku not do as well for them. He's been pretty solid for them for the most part, but this match he just didn't seem to find his place.
It really just kind of came down to the matchup there. Like we were talking about build changes. Like Androids also tried out Cell on Piccolo AI this week, and I think that ended up working out really well for them. And it just made Cell able to get GT. It just had Cell really put GT in a good spot. And then you had GT Goku transform and try to do ults, I think, because was it this week he tried to do the Dragon Fist and Super Saiyan 3?
Yeah, he did. No, he did Super Saiyan 4 Dragon Fist this week.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the return of Super Saiyan 4.
And it just didn't work. He just couldn't connect. And that ult, it would have been so awesome if it had hit, because it would have done so much damage. But it just didn't work out.
I'm also pretty sure Androids had Tapion on a different AI as well.
Yeah, but these all are AIs that they found in testing, so these weren't like hard new AIs. For the longest time, if you've talked to guys like Robot Anthony and Donut, Piccolo AI is not new for them. They've been kind of bumping that up for a little while.
Yeah, like Cell and Piccolo AI, what was an option from what I understood from Donut, and has been. It's just been that they had seen glimpses of greatness from the old AI, and they just kind of were at a point where they're like, well,
what do you mean by old AI? Because they had not been using Cell AI.
I think it was Boo AI was the previous AI for Super Perfect Cell.
What do you mean by previous?
Before Piccolo AI.
Okay, because like it kind of sounds like you're referencing previous times, but this character's never existed prior to now.
Yeah, like I just know what I'm told. Yeah, and before that they had Cell on the same build for like 4 seasons. So, you know.
Well, they've always, I don't think they've ever done super perfect. I think Donut went back and looked, and they've like super perfect is like something they've never really like pushed for. So this is like
Mm.
brand new kind of.
Oh yeah, because back when I was coach, I was very clear that I thought Super Perfect was a downgrade. But I mean, I have seen some of the tests, and Super Perfect can do some very impressive stuff. I hope they can make him work with the AI change.
I mean, let's be real. He's not having a bad season. I'm pretty sure he's doing what you'd expect of a main league character. Let me pull up the stat sheet real quick.
He is currently sitting at a 30K average, I believe.
Okay, well, he's starting to bounce back, but I think he
Yeah.
can start popping it. The lucky thing is that this team doesn't need him to do well this season, because you have a 60K average from Android 17, a 50K from 16, a 42 from Super 17, and then obviously Tapion's also in that 30 spot, but like he's just a little bit of a wild card, you could argue, with being a what's the term?
He
A spamming free agent, and they're a team
Yeah.
that never really has hard spammers.
Yeah, and I think he's also generally been used as more of a closer, and so you have some of that in there as well. So, but yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely had a few weeks. He's also had some unlucky weeks. Like we had the one that was in the short where he just straight up missed like his fire because the character walked through it.
Yep. Yep, I remember that. That was some grade A BS right there.
So it's going to kind of happen sometimes, unfortunately.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, GT in that similar spot I'm at, we've actually talked with each other a little bit about ideas, because it's just one of those needing to get into a spot where you can find the wins, and I think they're just like me, where they're just like one alteration away from kind of finding it big per se. So it is very doable, and will be interesting to see. Whereas androids are, while yes, having a better free agent, seem to just be in general having a better season from like all their characters. They've been having a lot of characters that seem to have really been struggling as of late. So it's been a lot nicer for them to get some of that sweet return. Like 16 for the last 2 seasons has been like super hit or miss, and he seems to be pulling his own a little better this year. He's not as much requiring an elite to have actual stats.
Yeah, last season if he hit, he got like he got an elite versus almost an entire team, and then if he missed, he didn't do as much. But he's been very consistent.
Didn't do as much. He didn't do anything if he didn't hit. That was the problem.
Yeah. All right, but was that
I'm
all?
done with this match. Move on. Malachi, final sayings?
Nope.
All right.
Androids are boring. Move
Moving
on.
on to match 4. We have no stats for it, so but we have Namek and RW, and I think this is one of the first weeks that late Piccolo did not actually take out more than 2 characters, because I think either it was Vegeta or it was Maju that just kept even.
Well, he
with him.
went near dead even with Majub.
Yeah.
And then it was like afterwards is when things fell apart for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's been the beast has been taken down a notch, you could say.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, but the rest of Namek did put up a good fight. If I remember correctly, it kind of came down to like, what wasn't it just like N Vegeta versus one character on? It was like one character on each team, I think.
Yeah, this was an incredibly close match, but I mean, it just showed that RW was able to kind of hold it down, which was huge for them trying to get things kind of locked down a little bit.
Yep. Despite having and Vegeta on a 5-point build.
Yeah.
I mean, I will.
Say what you will, it was Dende's that was missing, so he did
Yeah.
all the damage he was supposed to do. Whereas last week it was his blue that was missing, and it made it very difficult for him. So
Yeah. I mean, I will give him that. Like, the Dende is being missing from him is probably the best case scenario. Just because again he spams and it still leaves him to spam and hit hard. So.
yeah, I mean, it's just gonna be interesting to see how these teams go from here due to how scary we know Namek can be. But if you're able to do what RW did, which is go even with like Piccolo, it shows that they are very beatable. The last few weeks they've looked incredibly difficult to take out. But this week we kind of saw a little bit of the chink in the armor, and while you could say it's RW, they're incredibly strong, and North Kai team and such, I mean, they haven't had any characters looking so scary that the matches are unwinnable.
Yeah, and I mean, let's also point out, Nova was benched this week, I believe, which is another. Yeah, kind of had to bench him sometime, and I mean, never underestimate Namek. They're a quiet team in the sense of like, you think about the league history and
I
some
told
of the
you this guy has no idea what goes on in the league. They have like the loudest coach.
Fair. I'm talking about like the team theme itself. Like it's not like the Super Saiyans or Muscle, where it is, you always think of them when when you think of like the strongest team in the league. But they're a solid team, and they always have been. They're the quiet powerhouse, despite how loud the coach may be. They are the team theme.
I still feel like Malachi knows nothing about this league, man. Late Piccolo has been known for seasons to be one of the scariest characters in the
always.
game. Like I think the only issue they've had is that they've not been able to have other characters step up as consistently as they've had this year. This is probably a year where they look to have a much deeper playoff run than they've had in a while. Due almost entirely to them having just like a good solid core behind their main crew here for once.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, at the rate they're going, like I would not be surprised to see them be in North Kai next year and make it to the top 3. Like they are looking super scary because like even early Piccolo is guaranteed to be their weak link, and even he is looking good by early Piccolo standards. So they are definitely going to be a scary team.
And Nail for his second week being in, or doing decently well as. Yeah, so really it's been, I think most of their problem has been King Piccolo sometimes just gets destroyed beyond his damage.
Yep.
Well, King Piccolo's gotten probably some of the largest like build changes. He's gone from like defense 2 to attack +1 to key 2. You want to talk about stuff that like really makes the AI change, and obviously other AIs on top of all that. So I think he's just a character that's been getting incredibly crazy build swaps. I mean, they all kind of have. There's not a lot of characters on Namek that keep the same builds week in, week out. So it's always quite crazy to see how well they do when they have such crazy like build paths going down. But to talk a little bit about the other team, RW, obviously they've been having a lot better time as well, doing quite a lot of work with their squad and being able to come out with a lot more. I know a lot of people were saying it's because of the team they had last season, but they've managed to do some loans to keep nearly the same team, and while they may have lost Tepion, they have managed to keep up there. 2-3 may not be the same start they had last year, where at this point they were 5-0, but once they get kind of their brains fixed around what they're supposed to be doing or want to be doing build-wise, I think they'll be back in it.
Oh yeah, and I mean they also had a couple AI swaps this week. I think early Goku has been on default AI and he's now on Majin Buu. Ader I think is back on Cell AI. I know they had him on a different one not too long ago.
I mean, all been getting slight build swaps too. They've had characters on, like, they're all the same type of build, but still build swaps, which of course is just going to change how their characters run. And they've also been doing that to try to find wins, so I understand, but it's still a little, like, a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, my closing thoughts are these are just two teams that, in my opinion, can go very far with what they have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun to see how the rest of the season goes for both these teams, and next season as well, if they continue with what they're doing or if they switch anything up. So that's it for me on this match.
I got nothing else, so Malachi, you got anything?
Nope.
Alright, let's move on to match 5, and Dor, why don't you lead us off on this one, since this is technically my match.
So two teams stepped onto the field. One of the teams won, and somehow one of the teams has a score of 2-2, despite this being week 5.
It's supposed to be 2 and 3.
All right. So yeah, I mean, your team just came out doing what everybody knew they could do, and managed to hold down the fort for the entirety of the match. So was interesting to see how that went down. Malachi,
Yeah.
why don't you give some insight onto this match?
I mean, it was a fun match to watch. I mean, it started off with a good showing from both. Well, I wouldn't say necessarily good showing from Janemba, but I mean, it was good to see Krillin, if I remember correctly, kind of doing what he is used to be, what he used to be known for with the all the melee and just kind of going all out. I just had lots of PTSD flashbacks to Krillin destroying my team when I was coach of androids, despite, you know, being like, okay, Krillin's gonna come, you know, we'll put this character out there to deal with him and it'll be fine. No, it wasn't. And so that's just how it goes. But I mean, we also had legendary Broly show up, and it was great. He is so much fun to watch. But yeah, that's about it for me. This was just a fun match, back and forth, and I mean, it's what I expect from DBZ League.
Yeah, I mean, it was indeed an interesting match. I was trying to remember some of the moments because it wasn't quite on the top of my head, but yeah, now I recall. Krillin, excellent start. Janemba actually took a huge lead, if I remember correctly, and then Krillin turned it around and then some. But yeah, pretty much everybody from Cinema decided that after 2 seasons of being the worst, decided to step on it a little bit and try to do some shit. It is coming together now.
It really is, and I'm glad to see Cinema coming together as a team. They've really been struggling, and I do think I have to credit Broly as giving them some of the extra force that they have needed. I mean, in this match, I would almost say PyCon was in some ways a more decisive factor than Broly, because if I remember correctly, this is the one where PyCon just spammed Tien to death, and that...
Actually, it was a combination of both Broly and Python for Tien, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I just remember Tien, or PyCon, using Hyper Tornado to finish off Tien, and...
Yeah, it was a Hyper Tornado blocking the... and I hate this V2 name, Multiversal Calculus or whatever.
Dodon Ray.
Yeah, Dodon Ray.
Yeah. Well, you know, maybe next year, whoever is, you know, Earth Defenders can rename a Neo Tribeam to Math Exam, and you know,
They already have
uh,
geometry, so just
hey, just keep the math references going.
Well, in the end,
ahead.
there was a lot of stuff that went good for both teams. It seemed like it was a pretty even match for a minute, but definitely just like everybody else on Cinema pulled a little extra weight. And really the only person you could say screwed up majorly was probably the boy Wonder himself, Tien.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I can't even blame him for that. Like, when you're going up against someone like Legendary Broly and Pycon, um, that's a tall order for anybody in the league. So I mean, sometimes you just gotta feel bad, and you know, you just gotta be like, well, that's just gonna be a tough week.
Yeah. But go into some of the planning we had for this match. So we started Janemba. Hope we actually did predict Krillin to start, but I was very scared of Krillin because just how normally he's done like his 40k, but then just instantly get like ulted by a really high damage B2 character after. But since that's not really how the team functioned this week, Jane kind of took the brunt of it. Still doing his 30, which is good for a bit. And then taking like maybe almost 2 bars off of Broly before, for some reason, tagging when he was in no threat at all. Probably could have killed Broly with Tien coming in. So, and you know, mid Goku ulted, did an ult finally.
Yeah, I mean it was just a match that started in the favor of ED, and your team managed to claw it back in a pretty convincing way. So I don't really have anything else to say on this match.
Yeah, I mean,
I got one last thing to say. Defense +5, legendary Broly, and then launching an Omega Blaster Krillin. It made my day. Alright, but yeah, that's it for this. That's it for my match. So, ready to move on?
uh,
Let's go.
Alright.
I got like 30 minutes left. We gotta make some progress.
Alright. Well, we have match 6 here of Muscle and Royals. And Royals won this one, being a 4-1 team now. And Muscle changed up some things. They did 13 on Super Plus, wanting to see if I guess the big 13 came out there. Did some 10k B2s.
I think it more came down to the fact that 13 in general just pretty decent with his B2 connection rate, and obviously being an Android, going for that more Android 17 kind of deal where it's just he'll dual damage, don't need to worry about him, and it worked out pretty well. Was some issues, but I wouldn't say there was anything too major.
I mean, the biggest issue is just, I don't think he threw out a B2 after he transformed.
He did not.
And
No, but he died pretty quick after.
I mean, he if I remember correctly, he fought for a little bit with an ape, but he just didn't throw out a B2 at all. And I mean, unfortunately, that, you know, with the way the league is, sometimes that's just how it goes. But I mean, 13 looked really good. The rest of the team pulled their weight too.
Yep.
And if I'm Muscle, I am. Yeah, you lost, but you know what? 13 is, oh boy, looking scary.
Yeah, I mean, everybody did basically their job, right? Like, stat-wise, from Muscle, they all did their near 40. The problem is they needed, like, Garlic had a lot better week than he normally has, but when it came down to it, King Vegeta just kind of went crazy. This was the match where King Vegeta, like, pulled it back from, like, 2 or 3 bars down because he went ape. So, you want to talk just about, like, some crazy stuff going down. probably the last thing anybody expected. I think this was another one of those matches too where, um, what's his name did not do well at all.
Bora.
Yeah,
Deborah just straight up flopped.
Yeah, and I think they were saying, and I remember someone from their team saying like this was the Deborah's make or break week. I mean, I just want to point out two things. One, like they're 4-1 with Deborah kind of consistently doing 20k, which is terrifying. Number two, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely did not expect Ape King Vegeta to do really good and be the clutch win 2 weeks in a row.
I'm not surprised.
Mhm.
When you look at how King Vegeta's always done, it's always been he just kind of like it's always been on going ape. Whenever Kaiju or Saiyans had him do well, it was because he went big. That was it. There was no like other secret tech. It's just like if he went wide, he went wide quite well. So I'm not gonna sit here and be too surprised at the fact that he's just a character that seems to do very well with his transformation and utilizes it very well. And he actually could have secured this a little better, assumed last week, had he just hit more of his Super Gallic guns that he just narrowly missed. And it's just one of those that happens, but obviously showing that, and I think Kaiju just got tired of that risk, that risk versus reward with him, where you're having to sit there and decide, is it this worth it? Is this the way you want to play it? Is going with this character kind of being okay, but also not? Like, because he struggles a lot pre-ape, and I think that is the main issue that you get with him, is how comfortable are you with him pre-ape, and I think it was much more comfortable for them than it is Kaiju, who pretty much deal with that every year.
Yeah, because at least
This was a more subdued Majin Vegeta week.
Yep.
What is it? On Royals, King Vegeta has definitely been proving his weight in and outside of ape form. So my question is, do you guys think they might be switching in Tam anytime soon?
No, I'm good with Deborah being in next week.
Just the sense I get from what they've been saying is I think we will see Tambourine in. Honestly, I think the rest of the team is so solid that I would say, honestly, figure Deborah out for the main season. Like, just accept that he is your weak link, but just throw whatever you can at Deborah and get him working. Like, at this point, I don't think they have much to lose by doing that.
I can agree to that. I think he's in a spot. That's certainly a character in a spot right now that they can probably just, continue with how they're doing and not have to worry as much, for sure. I think they could definitely just get away with being in that mindset, because he might be struggling a lot, but they have other builds for him, so they can certainly pull those out, mixed with the fact that just in general he just is a decently static character. And it's not to say anything against Tambourine, but they have a lot else they can also go with.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I would also point out, like, it's
no, we're done talking about Royals. They don't need any more advice.
Yeah, I mean, I would just close with kind of echoing the same thing. There's still a lot to try there, and next season you're not going to have King Vegeta, who has been another loan that has worked out really well for them to help pick up the slack. So just do what you can to see, just let him sit through the season.
Unless they trade
or do another loan. They're always going to go for the loan if it's there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Yep. Moving on to match 7 of Kaiju Gold. And, speaking of a 5-0 team, we have a 5-0 team.
That we
Despite
do.
them wanting it. They definitely made it sound like they were not like expecting it or wanting it.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously they wanted it, but they made it quite like they, knowing X-Matt and Sean and them, they definitely have had a lot of rough times and were not expecting it to continue in as well as it's been going. So good on them for getting stuff figured out. And this was a week in which it looked like they were more than mortal. They had what's his name? Final Form came in and kind of did nothing. Honestly, he just kind of was like could not tell what was going on. So it was a very impressive week for them. The fact that I think this one came near the wire too. I think it came down to
It
like
did.
2 or 3 bars. So it's an excellent job. Bardock continuing to do well. Really everybody on their team doing well. So, and I know Turles wasn't in, but we can also say Turles has been having a pretty decent season this year as well. So just in general, lots of positives going on for their squad on both sides here. And both of these teams have been teams that have been not necessarily doing bad, but certainly have felt a little further in the pits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the kaiju is still looking very scary. Like, I think a lot of it this week just came down to adult Gohan didn't kill 2 people. And, we saw some supernovas, if I remember
Well,
correctly.
there was no Nappa ults either this week. I'm pretty sure. I
Yeah.
think this was the week where he refused to do it. He only wanted to do
He
his
only-
boy.
He only wanted
Yeah.
to do explosion.
Yep, he only cast Explosion and Blazing Storm.
He did not cast. So like he only casted one blazing storm, and it was so far away that it missed.
No, he cast like 2 blazing storms, but they were very rough. His B2 choices this week are really what cost Kaiju the match, which
Oh, yeah.
is saying something because Frieza's B2 choices almost cost Cold the match. However, Cooler and Mecha Frieza have been doing what we've been seeing them do in testing, which is just being really solid guys. So
And tag a whole lot.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, the tagging. I think wasn't this the match with like 8 tags in it altogether? Or something
Altogether
absurd?
from both teams, I'm pretty sure combination is like 8, 9.
Yeah, that was the one thing I remembered from this match was just the absurd amount of tagging.
yeah, everybody was definitely trying to preserve self. I think the sad part is I think Final Form Frieza may have also tagged, but still just did nothing.
No,
Yeah.
Final Form Frieza died.
He was well, no, he died, but I think he tagged, came back in, and died. I think he was like, "I'm panicking, everything's going south," but it just still didn't matter.
But they won this match, and they had a Zarbon on the bench, who Zarbon has been really good character, and before this week he was their best character in terms of stats.
That's something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think both these teams are looking to have extremely good seasons, and I think Kaiju is going to have a better season with or without Adult Gohan, because I think obviously just having Turles, and they kind of got him figured out pretty quick there, and he's been doing quite well, and Bardock's been firing again. They got Scouter fixed. Nappa's never really been struggling, so there's just been a lot of goods going for them so far. So.
Mhm.
With that, shall we get moving?
I guess
Yeah.
so.
Last match.
Last match, and also the second divisional of the week. We have Rugrats and Hybrids, with Hybrids taking it for their 4-1. And
Mhm.
started off with the brothers of Johan and Goten. This and pretty even between the two, but Gohan knocked Goten away with such low health that when he collided with the wall of Kami's lookout, he died.
Yep.
And then he
That
got
was a weird
tagged.
match because the first damage, like the first major damage, was like a Bros Kamehameha
Yeah.
on 2 melee people.
On
Yeah.
What did you do to my AI? Mal!
Yeah, no, this was so weird because like Ultra Gohan like just melted Goten's health with that melee damage, and then Goten apparently just he took the beating and was like, oh right, I'm supposed to ult, and that was about it if I remember correctly. And
No,
then
they went back and forth a good bit,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
I mean, the main thing to note from the downfall of Rugrats here was that Frieza, just like his final form, did nothing.
Jack squat.
He just wanted to do everything.
Yeah, like, and I don't know I can actually blame Frieza too much because he tried. He threw out at least 3 or 4 B2s and just kept missing. And whereas Teen kept hitting with everything, and then Trunks kept up the whole thing of throw out your B2s from across the map and just don't hit.
Well, can't be too harsh on Trunks because they've been trying to get this build to work for a minute, and this week at least he started actually throwing stuff out. Where
Yeah.
in previous weeks it was like this huge issue where he just wasn't. It was just like he would like spam max power mode and do nothing. So it's an awkward one because I think that while it was not maybe his like most stellar hit rate week, he did do a ton of damage in the end and nearly pulled it back. I think Aurelia, and I know we don't fully have the stats for her right now, but I think she actually probably was like they needed her to have a much more stellar week than she ended up having.
And
They did.
I mean, even with that, it still came down to like almost a bar of Trunks and a bar of ult versus a little bit of Aurelia, so it was close.
Yeah.
Definitely think Rugrats wanted Trunks to be more spammy with the ults instead of his B2s, though.
They definitely did. I mean, that's why that ult +1 is there. But I mean, at the same time, like he threw out so many supers
With
that I
Super
don't.
plus 3.
Yeah, with super +3, I don't know that I would be super upset with that. I mean, I think it really comes down to the fact that Frieza just kept missing with those B2s. You know, because it was, as you pointed out, it came down to probably within a couple of bars. And if Frieza had managed to hit with like all the punishing rushes that he missed, that could have just changed this completely. So, but
No,
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the punishing rushes that he missed, as well as just the fact that like there's just a couple characters like Goten and Aurelia that and Trunks, all three of them, while doing a lot of damage, certainly felt like they were maybe missing out on some of the damage you'd expect them to do. It seemed like they were all just a little flat-footed, you could say, in this
Yeah.
match. Whereas on hybrids, everybody came out swinging and hitting what they needed to hit, and it of course paid off in the end. So.
Also, thank God Hybrids does not get an elite this week. Do not
They've
want
been
them
on a little
going-
bit of an elite streak, but they didn't have Namek, so.
I mean, they did have 2 of their other elite characters in.
Yeah, I mean, I think hybrids certainly aiming for that bye week quite early on, and Rugrats, while a hard loss, I don't think knocks them out at all.
Yeah.
Alright.
Nah, it's still way too early to be thinking of, you know, if anyone's out of the running or anything. Like we don't have.
Well, like they have twice as many wins as me, so they're obviously doing quite well. So, say what you will, but their characters also, in general, have been looking quite solid. It's just, you know, if you in a divisional, it's who can get the more characters to do, not necessarily elite, but like
what they're supposed to.
play like an elite.
Especially since boosts are also a factor, like the KSA on Future and the extra attack one on Ult.
Oh yeah, I mean
Yep.
that was just weird. Both of them were attack +3 to start. Well, one was attack 2 with no defense minus, the other one was attack 3, and they just like hated punching each other. Just how it goes sometimes, weirdly enough.
what's going on with these AIs?
Yep.
But anyway, shall we get moving?
Yep. Yeah.
Good at that.
Alright. Well, here we have our power rankings and our tier list. We just, I guess, quick go over them. Hybrids, of course, still in first with 11 points, with Cold behind them at 7. But looking at this tier list, there are definitely characters at the bottom that you would not expect to be at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about like Namek, I would not have expected them to be that far down, but it happens.
And
Um,
they only
There were some upset wins this week for sure, and I mean, but teams have to lose in every match. It's not really a draw system per se, or if there is, my God, that has got to be the hardest thing in the world to get.
Since this is technically his first weekend of the season, at least based on the tier list, Kid Goku doing 50 to 55k isn't bad.
yeah, no, like Kid Goku ended up at a very good spot.
I think the funnier thing is to look at the 70 to 80k characters: Hercule, Krillin, King Vegeta, Burter. It's like characters that if you looked at outside of this league, you'd be like, those are like 4 meme characters,
But if
and
you
they're
look
like
at
the
in
top of the
league,
week.
Yep,
and then
and
immediately following is Cooler and Mecha Frieza.
I mean, at least those you kind of expect to be top, like stronger characters. But then you see like Saiyaman, like who I think he's in the top. He's definitely in the top 5. I can't remember if he's in the top 3 average damage characters.
I mean, I would just say the 45 to 50k range is much more of what you'd expect from a league like this when you look at like characters that are next to each other and make sense for being next to each other.
Yeah.
And then, but definitely the 25 to 30k and the 20 to 25k is definitely characters you don't expect to be there.
Yeah. You don't expect to see Vegito sitting in the 25k unless he's clean up for a particular week.
Yep.
And but it happens. I mean, it's gonna be hard, but hey,
We get on prediction.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to
Yeah, this tier list is not off the official stats. It's off somebody doing stats, so there's no overkill damage and stuff. If you're wondering if you're looking at stats lists, but yeah, predictions.
With predictions, we have week 6 and we also have the free FA benching for this week. Remember that. We have Cold and RW. Definitely two strong teams, but I'm going to have to go with Cold on this one. Zarbon's coming back in, and
I don't know if Zarbon's coming back in, but when you look at who can come back in, Zarbon versus General Blue, I mean, just straight up advantage, right?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, General Blue's the worst.
wait, isn't Yash coming back in? Potentially?
Yeah, potentially. Well, so
yeah,
Yajirobe's coming in to fight, yes. I don't... It's Raditz for
Raditz.
Cold, so, and he runs the same build that Zarbon does, so that's why I was
Yeah.
like, we can't necessarily say Zarbon's back, but yeah, Yajirobe will be back in, though not exactly a bad character, just certainly one that maybe struggles sometimes in getting the higher damage. But we've seen him have a good week or two already this season. I would still personal vote Cold just because they are looking so hard to deal with right now. There's no character that you could target as like a weak link.
Yeah. Even Mecha Frieza, who was their weak link, is now not.
Probably their strongest character, him and Cooler.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna probably have to give it to Cold as well. Like, I can definitely see RW taking the win. Majub and Vegeta both can just decimate characters with their cheap B2s and strong B2s.
Okay, so, well, here's the problem. I think one's going to be out this week due to the fact that it's North Kai Divisionals next week, right?
Yeah.
So they need to have one out this week, and then Yajirobe might be out again next week.
Yeah. And that's the thing that kind of pushes me over the edge, because it's like, if you had both of them in there, I could definitely see RW taking this, but if they bench one of them in preparation of a divisional, I think Cold's gonna take it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they could still do like early Goku out this week,
Yeah.
or whatever, or Aider. But I would say in the end, they're more expected to do something a little potentially better to go into their divisional week. But we'll see.
Alright, well, that's 3 out cold. Next up with match 2, we have Derp versus Namek with at least potentially coming back in Kui and Nuova.
I think I would have to throw it. Oh, sorry, you're going to finish.
I was going to say, I actually think I might give it to Derp because Namek still need to bench late Piccolo at some point.
That's fair. I think on the whole, Namek is still looking a little more solid than Derp is. A lot's just going to come down to who they bench, I think. And if the champ's in, I think he can do really well as long as he doesn't end up against Nova. And I do, again, like, I think Derp can take it, but I just think I have to favor Namek for this one.
Alright.
Yeah, I was going to give it to Namek as well. I think Derp, it's not like, I don't think I'd ever be surprised if Derp wins this match. I think they certainly can. But they obviously had their arguable strongest squad in last week, which means somebody has to come out. And while Kui is going to be solid, I think Namek, their only member I would necessarily call like one that's struggling is early Piccolo, but that's because it's early Piccolo and he's just not had much time in the league and is not exactly like a super high stat character. So
Yeah.
I would have to say that Namek, I think Nova has a lot of good matchups here where he can. There's no one that's like known on Dirt besides Hercule for keeping someone locked down and not letting him spam.
Mhm.
So while Malachi says that's probably the bad matchup, I think that's their only one that really beats Nuova guaranteed per se. I think everything else is going to be like, can they actually stay on him? Because Salza's pretty solid, but he also has to take. He's a very much an EL character. He takes his time.
But alright, so that's 2-1 to Namek, and we have match 3, our first divisional of the week. Kaiju and Androids with potentially 17 and Turles coming back in. Do we
Not
know?
potentially.
Okay.
There's no way 17, who's like Android's best member, is not coming back in. I mean, they both have to come back. You can't bench 2 weeks in a row. The only way, the only thing that could happen is Turles gets switched for a certain peel-off, but I don't think that's happening either. I think they want Turles because Turles had some good tests against 16. So I honestly think we're going to see Turles in on purpose.
Do we know Zenny counts, by the way?
We can. It's on the
we
website.
It should be up and ready. Let me look at the spreadsheet.
Androids have 5, and Kaiju has 11.
Yep.
So if they want, Kaiju can way out boost Namek, or not Androids, because Androids I think did a little they've, which is funny. I think it's just come down to partially Zenny from last year as well as not using any yet.
Yeah. Yeah, Androids went all in on Tapion, which I think is the big difference. Because I think Kaiju did, they chose a lesser.
I don't think they chose a lesser. I think it was just all the big ones went quick, and they just they decided to go a little lower and got away with it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
they went the amount that no one could outbid them on their FA.
Oh, that's right. They got Adult Gohan. Duh.
Yeah.
I'm dumb.
Yeah, they just had I think they had a little worse season last year. Had a little less.
Yeah. Well,
neither put any on their map.
The Peel-Off King Vegeta.
Oh yeah, they got Zenny for Peel-Off. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
If I'm being unbiased, it is very close for me, a little too close for me to call easily. I want Androids to win just because I used to be Android's coach. I don't think we're gonna see Kaiju try to outspend Androids because it's just the first divisional, and you've still got Sentai and you still got Sentai and Cinema there, both of
Well, I
whom.
see both using one boost, is what I would
Yeah.
say. I think they're both going to do one boost, like you said. They're not going to go all in. Kaiju could, but I don't see him. I don't see a point to doing that. I don't know. I'm going to personally give it to Kaiju.
Yeah.
I think both teams have almost their entire squads working, but when it comes down to it, I think that Kaiju just have a little more explosiveness going on right now. They're not doing as many changes as androids are to try to get results. Like we saw, androids are doing some AI swaps and stuff, where Kaiju's a little more holding down with the same things.
Yep.
See, for me, since well, this is my highest divisional this week, I'm going to have to get it to Kaiju, but I think it will be close considering like 17's coming in. 17 wants to just spam Photon Flash, Double Ball. It's going to be very hard for Kaiju to bounce back without their own spam, and I think Kaiju might be benching Nappa for this one. For
Yeah,
Turles.
I could see that as he might struggle, and he's been doing a little worse, but we'll see.
Yep.
I also am just trying to think of who would androids want to put on the bench since, like, 17 is good, but like Super 17 is also like one of their top 3 right now in terms of stats. I think.
Alright.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. For all we know, they might do Tapion on a bench. Guess that's. I'm forgetting the score now.
Doesn't matter. Move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think it was 2-1 for Kaiju.
All right, but
Yeah, moving on.
we have Rugrats and Muscle with Bojack, and with at least the benches coming back in with Bojack and Soul Jr. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to give it to Muscle. Not just because I think they can exploit the weak point of Soul Jr. and bring it to a really good lead. Not to knock Doorguard, so I think it will still be close.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna give it to Rugrats. I know Cell Jr.'s coming back in, but they can have anybody out right now, so I could see him going a little harder into this. They also just came off their divisional, so they're not like in a rush to get certain benches out of the way. And they know Muscle's a top team that they're gonna have to deal with. And I think Muscle is quite solid, but I don't know. I think it's gonna come down to a lot of things because they have their divisional next week, so they've got to sub like somebody out this week to be in preparation for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think I might have to give it to Rugrats as well for many of the same reasons, like especially the benching. Like if Muscle benches one of their top 2, like Rugrats could conceivably take it unless they bench like Trunks, like yeah, like even if Rugrats bench their best and Muscle bench their best, I think I'd have to give it to Rugrats, and that's probably what we're gonna see, or we're gonna see probably something closer to that than anything else.
Alright. Oh, it's 2-1 Rugrats. Next, we have our second divisional of Tentai and Cinema, and all I am willing to tell is that we are doing it to boost for defense +1.
yeah, I mean, who do you guys have coming back? Who did you have bench last week?
Gogeta.
Yeah, so Gogeta, certainly a heavier hitter, your EL guy, and then Sentai has Jiren, so
yeah,
it's gonna be a hard one. Gonna be confusing to or hard to pick. I mean, obviously we know who Destiny's voting for. I don't know. It's a rough one. I think I might have to give the edge to Sentai just due to the fact that like they 3-manned me, well 2.5-manned me.
Yeah, I think I have to give it to Sentai as well. Like, this is the divisional. Their weakest is probably going to be out being Jace, who hasn't had any benches yet, and so I think they're just a little more I think their strongest right now is probably going to be able to take out what you guys throw at them. That being said, like I think it's going to be a very close match, and I would not be surprised if Cinema took the win.
I'm just giving it
Broly,
to the volatility that Jiren is an unknown factor, and
Mhm.
normally I'd be against it, but I think with what we've seen of Jiren, I would give more to it.
yeah. Like we've seen some of the B2 cycles that, kind of like we've seen with Videl. Jiren can do the same thing. He is scary. Birder's been scary. Mercenary Tao's been scary. Seiya Man is scary. On the flip side, you got Cinema. Janemba can be scary. Broly has been scary. Pycon has been scary. Fasha's always scary. Um, like it is going to be an explosive match. I think it will be a fantastic match. I think I give Sentai the edge going into this right now, but as I said, like I can totally see Cinema taking this.
All right. So that's 2-1. Obviously, I'm voting for my team. For Sentai. Then we have hybrids and Edie with Engoku. With Engoku coming back in on the bench, and Nam as well for hybrids. I'm probably gonna have to give this to hybrids just because of like they have proven who they're willing to bench for Nam. They don't have a divisional since anytime soon, and while Edie has a divisional in the next week.
Hybrids.
Yeah.
Same.
They have this character, his name's Gohan, and the fact that I can say that you don't know which elite Gohan I'm talking about is, I think, gives it away.
Yeah.
When I say Goku, not really as much confidence, huh?
Yeah, like hybrids are just looking a little more well put together at the moment than Earth Defenders are. And it really just comes down to that. I think I would not be surprised to see Earth Defenders come back and take this because, like, Vegeta, Goku, like Tien, they're all good characters, and if they show up, if they come to play, they can totally take it. The other part of this is hybrids. We're talking about those elite characters. Well, they still got to bench them sometime, and they just so we may see one of them benched. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the only one that hasn't been benched out of those is Teen, because Ult's been benched twice.
Yeah. So, but I mean, even assuming Alt is benched because he needs to get his benches in, I still think hybrids are just a little more well put together at the moment.
Alright, so that's 3-0 to hybrids. Next match we have Royals and Bujins, and Dora, do you want to enlighten us?
I'll have at least 2 boos. That is what I have said every week, because it is never inaccurate.
That is fair. That is completely fair.
Yep.
So, I think right now, because you have the divisional next week, I think I'm gonna have to give it to Royals, because at least their main core is more put together, while yours has been decently. But
Take it
it's still
back. Cinema's
struggling.
gonna get an elite.
Alright, yeah, I'm giving mine to Royals.
I think I'm actually gonna go with Bujins on this one. Like,
Alright.
I take
think,
it back. Malachi pays attention to the league.
like, I really do think a lot of Bujin's issues have just been RNG. Like, we play in an RNG
Malachi
league.
also knows my builds because I sent to him beforehand, outside of looking at the builds.
Well, and I have also provided advice on some things I think you can do. Like, I think the Bujins have had solid builds. I think they have. I just think a lot of it has just been straight luck. On the flip side, yes, Royals are 4-1. I think 2 of those are really due to just a luck factor as well. And I I think on paper Royals are still a very, very scary team. Who knows if they bring in Tambourine, that might throw this off, but I don't know what they're gonna do. But on the whole, like, luck is gonna run out for Royals, and luck is gonna kick in for Bujins. and I think this could be the week for them.
All right, all right. So we have. I'm guessing you're voting for your own team, Door.
Of course.
All right, so we have 2-1 for Biojins. For our final match in the week, we have Budokai and GT with Grandpa Gohan coming in, with Videl also coming in. For all we know, Bro could come in for somebody on GT, but outside of that, I think
I'm giving it to GT. They deserve a win.
yeah,
GT. GT.
I was
Nah.
actually going to give it to GT just because their builds.
Jiro's coming back in. You can't handle the power.
Yeah.
Budokai lost their main threat. Yamcha's out.
This can go either way. Like I think GT is a little more solid from what we're seeing, but we're also seeing some good stuff coming out of Budokai this last week. Kid Goku coming in seems to be a good upgrade from Yamcha. GT, honestly, with what Grandpa Gohan's been doing, I honestly think Jiro would be an upgrade, and I think that could be a really good wild card for them to bring in this week. I think this match could go. I would be not shocked if Budokai won this, but at the moment, I think GT has the upper hand, if only because like Baby has been looking really good, and if he goes ape, that could shut down a lot of Budokai's B2 ability.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but with that, actually, Dora, did you say your vote?
Yeah,
GT, right?
GT. Give
Alright,
him a win.
So that's 3-0 GT, and with that, we've come to the end of the Capsule Cast. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and hit that notification bell after you subscribe. You know, get some notifications in there. Comment down below for anything that you want to see, or join the Discord for comments with as we have links to our Discord, website, Twitter, and our TikTok in the description below. And with that, I have been Destiny.
I've been Door.
And I've been Malachi.
And we will be seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Later.